when we posted on social media. So thank everyone for listening to Bridges Live. We're about ready to come on live on Dr. Paul Grandmaster's YouTube and Bridges Live on my iHeart and iPodcast, Apple Podcast channel. Welcome to all these fabulous men that we've been coming together as a Black Men mentoring group. I just want to say thank you. That how we can actually have open conversation, real conversations about real issues that are affecting us young Black men today. And that because, we started this because Black men have been getting picked off for a long time and stepped on and killed and shot. And we were like, we got to pull together as men to mentor this issue. So, and now that it's coming, September's here, right? So voting is an issue. We need to talk about voting. And Russ, right before we came on, we were saying how Black men are not voting. So what have you heard about that? What is the deal?
Oh, I'm sorry. When you said Russ, okay, it's Wes. No.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I'm sorry. No, it's something that is very perplexing because don't know why. Because the thing is, they have an understanding that the issues that are out there now are definitely working against them, and they have every opportunity, like else, to go ahead and make their voice heard, to get out there and vote. So we still don't quite understand it, but it was something that has been bubbling up in the communities. I say communities, the Black communities, for a while. That it was important enough for us to have an online discussion about it. We had men from all over the country that were talking about it. When I say men, most of the primarily men, the 100 Black men, nationally, that something that we're going to go ahead and take this up. And as far as to go back to our own communities to start to address the issue. Now, like I said, we've started with a drive. We're going to be talking more with the Black men. We will probably be putting more resources behind it, such as getting transportation, drive them to polls wherever it be. We will always be in a position where we're going to be party neutral, in that aspect. I don't care what your party affiliation may be, but, you want to get there and you want to vote. And also we will be hosting more sessions about educating the men about what the issues are and why it's important that they go out and vote, because perhaps they're not making the connection as far as what the consequence may be. And, by them not doing it, their inaction, they might think that, hey, Joe Biden's, he's leading Trump in all these polls and all this type of stuff. So me not going to vote might not hurt. But come to find out, just like in the previous election of 2016, them not getting out and vote did make quite a difference.
You mean, here's what's crazy, Wes, is that I cannot fathom a person older than 35, and I have to put an age on it, thinking that voting is not a serious issue. Why are we still, seems like we're talking, and now you educators, David and Dee, you guys are talking to the young kids more than I think. I don't know about you, Smooth. Are you talking with young kids about voting? I am just perplexed about, because you talk to Black kids and they don't even know if it's a good reason to vote. But you talk to white kids and they know exactly why they're voting. Well, where have we... Again, this is why I call it the Black Men's Mentoring Group. Have we really dropped the ball on this one also?
Well, again, I agree with Wes wholeheartedly. There's a lack of understanding and knowledge of what your vote means and how powerful it is to a number of Black men. And actually, I'll say 35 and older. I've spoken to people. I think there's a lack of trust also. Because over the years, it's system has failed us, as you come on and stated, and a lot of guys in that age group, you like, well, forget it. Regardless of what I do, the system is against us. Why should I vote? It doesn't make a difference.
That's what I get. That's what I get from the people I talk to, or the young men that I talk to in the neighborhoods. And then you did say the 35 older. Again, in the streets, just kind of talking to the youth. A lot of them are like, for what? We don't trust these folks. We don't trust the Republicans. We don't trust the Democrats.
Right.
A lot of things that they say, they don't have the best interest of the black vote at hand. We've been lied to for so long. What does it matter? And I have to, try to convince them or try to tell them, like, this is important. This is the fact that, you're getting a chance to vote. And this is what folks fought for. And, I even had one kid tell me, I hate to say it, he was like, man, that's their history. That's not mine. I was just kind of like...
That's powerful.
That's that last statement that you said, D. That's the sentiment I get from most people. That is their history. That's not part of our history. We're doing stuff like they did in the civil rights movement. We're out in the streets. We're doing all these things, and people aren't representing us. So there is a massive mistrust. I think the last election did a number with the popular vote and all that. But it's a huge trust, and it's just weird because I'm in political office and I'm saying, like, we don't have to. We're at a point now as black people. We're still pandering for a vote, and we're still accepting what like some of these leaders are telling us as okay, they got our best interests at heart. Whereas, we can sacrifice and we can put ourselves in office, and we're more powerful than what we think. But there's just that big mistrust there of the whole system. That's what I'm getting from, and I will go as far as saying 30 and over. I'm getting it from all my friends. And so when you look at like other ethnicities, so I'll say white, they have that. Their parents go out and their parents are at the dinner table. They're talking about these issues and they're saying that, like, okay, so this is the game plan. We're gonna go out and vote. But if I have 4 kids, and a lot of my friends have kids as well. So if they're telling their kids to not trust the process, now we're doing a generational thing that's very scary. It's very scary.
And that's what's going on. I think
that is what's going on.
To answer your question, Dr. Dyer, is the older generation, and I'm 43. I think that some of the guys who are my age who have already been through, the turmoil and all that other good stuff. I think that some of them are passing it down to the youth, like, it didn't work out for me, so it's not going to work out for you. So figure something else out.
Well, did you mention interesting about history? Obviously, very recently, John Lewis passed away.
Yes, sir.
It comes to mind when you think about someone like John Lewis, how hard they fought for us to get where we are. And I think it's important for us in these forums, great, where we harken back to the history of how many people so hard to where we are. We owe it to ourselves and the younger generation to try to make it a little bit better for them.
How? How?
Great question. Reason being, how we do that is continually to fight.
Okay.
You see John Lewis, who just worked so hard just to make things a little bit better.
Right.
Protesting, going across bridges, getting beat down. We haven't had experienced something to that degree, but we can do something a little bit further to help this younger generation and let them know at least our history is that. Someone did try to get us to this point, and it wasn't easy.
Hey, Chris, I heard, and it kind of resonated with me but John Lewis became more famous because he's got his ass whipped.
Right.
And what happens if he never got beaten up? That's a sick thought.
more famous because it was on camera, was getting the ass whooping, like you were saying. People were seeing visually, they were making that connection about what the injustice was,
right?
Back then, because these people were just marching. They were being non-violent. Then all of a sudden, you have these policemen that are sticking dogs on them, beating them with clubs, and that was the thing, But if we didn't have that visual, people to make that connection, we still wouldn't have it. We still have been dealing with an awful bit like that. But the other thing, which I think the focus is the great equalizer, is about education. I don't know if they still are teaching civics in class in school right now.
Well, we got two educators right here, one in North Dakota, one in D.C. Are they teaching something of civics?
Civics is mandatory.
Okay.
I think civics is mandatory in a lot of school districts around here, but the demographic. I live in North Dakota, so it's taught here. Principles of democracy is taught here. Economics is taught here. Speech is taught here. I mean, you know what I mean. I live in North Dakota,
yeah.
So it's not like they're going to, but they will in a let's say in 10 years. In 10 years, I mean, we have an influx. Our demographic is changing at an unreal rate.
It's rapid, right?
State to state, nation to nation. So immigration is real in North Dakota. So you're going to see things. You're starting to see some of the things that come across the docket as like, oh, okay, this probably stems from a minority issue. You're starting to see more of that in the political realm. And I mean, John Lewis came to Minnesota. I'm at a border town, so it's Fargo, Moorhead, and Washington, Breckenridge. But he went to a college and spoke right across the river from where I was at, and that was impactful for those children. It's the reason why I even went into the political realm. But like I said, it's catering. It's not catering to a lot of minorities.
So DCD, that's what we can almost call you, DCD. Well, how was in your school? You are predominantly black, and and how is that? How is civics? How is it being taught? Not that you can talk to all DC schools, but damn.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna say this. Again, I've been in the school system for 22 years, and I mean, it's been taught. I know I've taught it myself, but I also tell people a lot of times, and you all start to think about an average school day, from 7:30, 8 o'clock, or whatever until 3:30 or 3 o'clock when students get out. You have that whole day. Okay, the kids are being taught that teachers are doing the best they possibly can in these classrooms. Now you take after 3 o'clock or 3:30 from 3:30 or 4 o'clock until 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock when these kids are traveling back home, because a lot of my kids use Metro and all that other good stuff. What I'm basically trying to say is that socialization, of just that little short trip back home, of being in the neighborhood and all that other good stuff. Man, I'm going to be honest, sometimes it feels like that erases the whole school day, and what they're learning is what they want to know. I'm going to be honest, out on the street or in these neighborhoods. And it's almost like, staff members, teachers, whomever, student support have to, reteach every single day, to get the civics into these kids, just to get our point across of being, a civil citizen. It's not that difficult, but when you have, music, man, you listen to the music, and I know, growing up, I was in the NWA, generation.
I still am.
I get it, but like many of us probably, we listened to it, but we didn't, bring it into our lives. Not a whole lot, and if we did, we knew how to get out of it. I hate to say it, I'm watching a lot of these kids And I mean, they walk around, all day with earbuds in and so forth, and just constantly, you hearing some of this stuff that's going on. I mean, there's some artists out now, man, who make NWA look like the Powderpuff Girls. Like really, some of the stuff that they say, it's just kind of like, are you serious? You really believe that? And yes, they do.
So,
yes, they do.
Prior to us being on the air, we had talked about the other brother that we believe that needs some serious help, and that's Kanye West. And people now, he's not by himself because obviously there were people at his rally. So, is that what we're battling up against?
Well,
Anybody? Or that's what I think. I think we're battling against that kind of stuff.
right.
As a motivational speaker, this amount of respect for teachers. When I go into schools, obviously, like you said, D, you all do such a great job. But one thing I've learned, and I cherish and I believe my position is so important, when someone outsider, oftentimes it's important for a speaker or someone else to reinforce what you are teaching consistently. Because when I come in, attention goes directly to me. So if I say something contrary, they'll jump right on it. So with that being said, I think it's important for us to be consistent in bringing a lot of additional information aside from you all as teachers, educators who come in to reinforce. Because like you said, that outside energy that comes in via the music, is so strong, it can easily deter what they learn all day long.
Yes, sir. Yes, and you said it better than I did. So, yes, thank you.
But like with the 100 Black Men, Wes, I mean, even if us men are reaching out to these young brothers, we're still combating against them not being with us. And is it a tumble in an ocean thing? I mean, like, are we bailing out water that's filling up as fast as we could do it? I mean,
It's probably a bit of a combination of both, because we're working up against some very strong forces in a sense as disinformation. So of course we have to go ahead and build those bridges of trust, within the community of the Black, even though to help them convince them to understand you're not everything that you want with a candidate, but as long as it's moving in that direction, you're going to get it. So we're going to get incremental change. You're not getting everything, 100%. That's one of the things we have to teach to them is patience. Because it's not like when a president comes into office, they're the president of Black people.
Right.
They're a president of America.
Yeah.
That's where Obama got himself. Where Obama was getting some knocks because he would always hear he didn't do enough for Black people and this type of thing. He's the president of the United States. There's going to be some incremental change that's going to be in our benefit, but you're not going to have this man just be exclusively focusing on Black people. And I just thought that was an unreal thing. But the thing is, you have people who actually were bleeding that. And since they didn't get everything that they wanted,
they quit.
And of course, they're going to
and turned on them.
Right.
And that's what's frustrating to me is I have, I talked to some guys who, they talk about Obama, and I'm kind of like, man, like, what are you doing right now? Like, support him. What he didn't do, all this, for all the Black folks and this and that. And so, man, don't you understand that there are people, who are telling him what to do?
Right.
At least, that's what I think. And who are not letting him do some of the things that he might want to do. I need folks to understand that. Like,
Well, if we live in a society where we want instant change, and we're
You're right.
Our way, we want to bail out. I'll give you a great young players recently, and we were going over mechanics, And I'm telling these young guys, again, your mechanics is so important. Don't focus on making every shot.
Yes,
But
sir.
when we put it on social media, when you put it on Instagram, we see that person making every shot a la Chris Williams, the lefty jumper. But no one knows all the misses that come within that work that you put in. No one wants to go through the work. So, as you stated earlier, Doc, no, we don't want to give up. No, we want to keep on pushing. As Wes said, you're going to get some change consistently, but you have to put your work in. And a lot of times we deter work. Work is a part of the process. We all know that. If you want to be successful, you have to put your work in.
Yes.
So we hear the term suppressing the vote. Before we got on the air, David had showed us this picture that's been what year was it, Dave?
36. Let me grab that. It's right over here.
How can we get to where we as black men, mentoring men, talk about they are trying to get you not to do something like voting? Look at that picture that they put up.
Dave, put it back up.
What's that sign say right on the New Yorker?
There's no loitering or electioneering between this point and the polls. So they right outside that barrier.
Wow.
Right. Because Dr. Dyer was talking about, you guys didn't hear him, they're talking about they're going to have armed citizens going to the polls.
Yeah.
And like I was telling him, be in those areas where there's heavy presence of Republican voters. They're going to be in places where people of color are going to be at, and they're going to be the Latinos who are looking to vote and do their thing as well. And so maybe in some people, but the thing is, it's all about intimidation.
That's bullying. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Right.
It's ridiculous, but we know it's happening. We know it happens, and like Wes, when you're talking about like providing rides to voting, really, there's people who can't get to the voting station. I mean, I know in some rural areas, I'm thinking in my head like the Georgias and the Carolinas.
You will hear that hey, I can't get a lift, so we will go ahead and we'll provide the transportation for them, get them there and get them back. Set up something with Uber so that they can, wherever they may be. But don't want to hear any excuses. The thing is, we just have to get there and they vote.
And I look at, where when we vote, where I'm at in North Dakota, I mean, it is readily accessible. I mean, we're talking about polling stations that are libraries, schools, and
churches,
churches, and all these things. And there's some places where suppressing the vote may mean making it more inaccessible for folks to get to the polling stations. And we see that all the time. So that's where it originated, where people would give each other rides and whatever. And that was in the 60s as well. There's all these different little incremental ways to suppress the vote.
The gerrymandering of the districts or the lines, right?
Right. And it really is our responsibility to make sure that, like in New Orleans, okay, if you have a group of people who are old and they can't walk half a mile to get to that polling station and they don't have a license, that's an opportunity to suppress that vote
Easily.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's our opportunity, it's our responsibility to make sure that those people get there. And it really is.
Did you have to use responsibility? Because so many of us, again, run from responsibility. And that's where I think that history comes into play, where you see in the 60s what they for. So you start to feel, yes, I'm responsible, but someone else aside from myself if I can help out.
Did you all see with some of the stadiums? What's the stadium in L.A.? I think they're going to open some of the stadiums for voting with Mark Cuban, down his stadium, I guess down there in where he is. Yeah.
I had gotten a question while we were down in North Carolina. It's from a white friend of mine, and he had asked us, I'm going to ask you the same question. If you were king for the week, how would you help young black boys and black men? How would you do it? Where would you start? Wes, you can go first. King for the week or king for the month. It doesn't matter.
Well, I would change their mindset for one. Let them know exactly what their presence within the world actually is. Give them their sense of history, so that at least they walk around with that type of understanding. Because once you have that type of instilled pride, know exactly where you're fitting in the world and what has happened historically, and to bring you to that point, then it gives them a sense of purpose.
Dave?
We would take a lot of field trips. A ton of field trips. There are, number one, you're combating the belief that your neighborhood is the center of the earth.
Right.
And like Wes said, it's really eye-opening when you see something, you realize your place in the world and how everything fits together and how things are bigger than just yourself. Lots of black kids do not get the opportunity to go to Washington, D.C., to go to New York and see how the stock exchange works. Right. To go to California and see how businesses work down there, see, little stands and people trying to survive. And I think, if I was king for a week, we would take a ton of trips.
I had mentioned this, I think I even told Dee this, I would round everyone up. I would round every black male boy, and I would round them up into a stadium, and I would start, face to face, almost like a series of questions, like who are you, what are you, and where are you at, and literally start dividing them into, okay, this is not to be crash, uneducated people over here, single parents over here, I would understand where this dynamic truly is, so I can get a grip on it, and then start putting mentoring, going, okay, you're helping those people over there. I would round them all up. It would just be like, put them all in one big thing, and I don't care how long we have to be in this surrounded area, but I would have to figure out what the hell's going on with all of you. Go ahead, Smooth, you up.
Look, and I love where you guys are going with that. If I were king, I would give all these young fellas and older ones access to their true history. I think it's important for us to see people like us who are successful in other areas aside from sports, entertainment. So I can see you, Doc. I can see what. Oh, you know what? I can be like that. This guy. I can be that guy. Rather than always looking at something that may not be possible for everyone.
Right.
History is so important, and I think that would be something I would try to do.
DCD.
For me, I would, kind of like a lot of you guys, but it's more of a retreat kind of thing. I would take them to, the woods, man. Gather as many as I possibly can and take them to the woods. And, I said retreat, but I also meant almost like, from what we see on videos and all that stuff, the Navy SEAL kind of training, but just have team building, spiritual training, financial training, leadership, mentorship, and just kind of getting down to the root of what's going on with some of our young men. And I think if we can kind of deal with the root of the issue, then we can kind of come on out of what's going on and be able to communicate with each other. So it's just one of those things where, I would just kind of just beat positivity into them. We're hit with so much negativity, so much, that people start to believe in it. Then, okay, well, let's switch it on. Let's do everything positive and see how this turns out.
Dee, you had mentioned something about the earbuds always being in there, and us trying to talk to them, should we find it disrespectful to men as you talking to me with the earbuds in?
I mean, I asked my young men to take them out, or at least one. Even, it's interesting you say that because, when we do our orientations and all that other good stuff, when I was younger and just kind of getting into education, I would always, hey, I need you to take your earphones off. I need you to hear everything that I'm saying. Now I find myself a little bit older, and I try to work with them a little bit. Just like with the cell phones in the classroom and all that other good stuff. They're attached to the cell phone. It is what it is. We can take them. We can do this, which I can be on both sides of that. But if I'm working at a school where we don't take them, then let's try to. I'm going to figure out how to work with that kid to use it. Just like with my daughters. My youngest daughter said, Daddy, why did you all name me London? Well, I said, one day we want you to be a traveler. We want you to travel and go different places. As a matter of fact, take your iPad and I want you to look up London. So she looked up London. She was like, oh, wow. I said, okay, well, let's go a little bit further. I want you to look up black people of London. So she, watched a quick little video. She likes how they talk, their accent and all that other good stuff. I said, okay, let's go a little further. Where do black people live? So she went a little further and she, looked up. She took her earphones off and she said, Daddy, they live in South London.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now we're getting somewhere. You see what I'm saying? And my thing is, it goes back to the thing that we heard when we were growing up. Man, would you eat a gigantic steak, just eat it all up? Or are you going to cut little pieces and chew on it a little bit and just take a little bit in, Sometimes you got to sit back, man, that's good. And then go back in it, even though I don't eat a lot of meat. But that's just, how I think about teaching. So that kind of goes back to the earphone thing is, all right, take one of them out, so I know that you can hear me through one ear. So just take one out, and then I'll ask whatever questions I need, make sure that they're listening. Okay. So when it comes up again and I have to, talk to the young man, correct him or say something to him,
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you and I wanted to understand that you took one out, so I know that you heard me. What's going on? You see what I'm saying?
I do.
So, yeah, it's just one of those things, man. It's. I look at education as being an artist, man. I'm trying to tell you, I love it. I love it so much, and I love art. I love photography. I love painting. And I look at it like that. That every day you get a chance to make something, beautiful out of it.
Learn how to create who you are.
That's it. Even if you don't really like it, you go in there, you try to figure out how to fix it. So yeah.
I'm a big consider your audience type guy. English teacher, public speaking is my thing. So I totally respect public speakers because I know how hard it is. But you always have to consider your audience. And Smooth can tell you that right off the bat. You always got to consider your audience. And
absolutely.
so, like Beef said, it's an artistry. So everybody's classroom management ain't the same. So
right.
When a student comes up to me and they got earbuds in, I don't address them. I don't look at them. It's high offense to me to come up to me with earbuds in. So, but it's the teaching. It's a teaching moment. Which you said it's a teaching moment. So the rest of the class is gonna see like, whoa, yo, you can't go to woods with your earbuds, and you can't do that. Don't do that. He takes high offense to it, and then you pull that kid aside and you say, look, consider your audience. Like, I respect you. This is why I treated you this way. I respect you. You gotta learn to respect me, and we just keep it pushing. What you'll start to find is when that student comes up to you, they'll be like, oh, yeah, what? Because they all fucking was. Oh, yeah, what? So, what I got? And then, then they got it. And it's just one of those things, even with the cell phone. You don't go up to the counter in a store looking down at your cell phone. It's like, yo, my man, like you talking to me, right? You're looking up at me, right? It's constant. But it's one of those things where it needs to be done because the audience is so dealing with a population of black kids that are going to be leaders, whether we like it or not. Yeah, so they have those tools under their belt, you know.
Woodsy, you had said something about, and Smooth, I know he's going to say this, is that because he's an alpha male, I get it. But now it made me think of when we see a young black boy who will speak differently to you and how they speak to another, should you still correct them? That kind of pisses me off too, because I'm like, yo, you wouldn't address me that way. Why are you talking to him like this? And they're like, yo, but he ain't you, Doc Dyer, he ain't you. I'm like, so, that also, it's like, this is still. So back to what you're saying was, is consider your audience, but should we protect that other male because he can't, because now that's what confuses me, because we're trying to mentor kids to be strong men, and they're like, but that man's a punk. I could do that to him.
Go ahead.
Quick, Woods, I'm gonna let you rock.
Mm-hmm.
I think Woods, you hit the word earlier, responsibility.
Yeah.
Our responsibility to all of them to the right direction, and we've said this everyone can't do it. I think that's part of my job as an alpha male. I'm very fortunate and blessed to have skills to help in that area. But I think there is a certain responsibility to that young man. Lead him in the right direction. Don't let him go astray.
Mm.
If he don't speak to you correctly, he should speak to that next person correctly, because we don't want down the line that'll catch up to him.
Yep.
And it's about code switching.
Yeah.
Certain situations you can, but other situations you should be able to act another way. And we should be able to teach that to our young people. And that's important, part of our responsibility, especially the ones who understand. And
I totally agree. Mm-hmm. I stress code switching. It's the beauty of being black. It really is. And kids learn, man. Kids learn it, and I gotta write a publication. I need to write a publication about this. A lot of kids learn it from their mother, because
I think so.
When we all talk, and I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna watch your face, and whoever's watching this, I want you to watch everyone's face, because they know what I'm about to say.
I do.
So your mother is sitting there. So your mother's sitting there, and she's like, I done told you, and if you know what, I'm gonna get that wrong, and then it comes up. Hello.
Yeah.
Yes. And I told you, you gotta get your rump on over there, and that's where we learn it. That's the beauty of being black. And so when I talk to students, I say, hey, it's about code switching. I got our superintendent to say, who's a minority, to say, code switching is where it's at in North Dakota. You can code switch, you're going to be successful here. Wow. Superintendent of schools said that. And it was powerful for the students to hear that, because they're like, okay, so I can be me, but when I get in front of a certain person, I got to speak this way. Okay, Woods, teach me how to speak this way so that I can be successful. And I'm like, I'm dang there in tears as a speech teacher, like, oh my goodness, like, whoa. Yeah.
Well, with the code switching, we know it saves lives, because if you don't know how to code switch when you're in front of that police officer, you're gonna put your neck, your knee's gonna get put on your neck, right? And we know that, and I've heard it, and I'll do my own pushback. It's like, hey, Dr. Dyer, even when I do come correct, they're still pulling me out of the car. They're still putting their knee on my neck. They're still trying to hook me up. And I was like, you can only do what you can do to keep yourself alive. And code switching's part of that, I think.
Yep, absolutely. I always look at, it's so important to be able to flip in and out of there, because some of us, we have 3 to 4 different codes. Smooth, I know you have to have 6 under your belt in order to get up in front of people. And to be able to understand and figure out if you live in Anchorage, Alaska, where I'm from, which is extremely diverse, and if you live in New York, we're talking about streets where you have to switch your code.
Right.
Even in California, we're talking about streets. So yes, it is a very important means of survival. It is a very important means to be in tune with your culture. And it's very important for these children's success to be able to do that, to be able to make sure that they know who their audience is and how to address them.
I just read something about the job separation. Now, we've known the color racial barrier between jobs and working has always been a gap. Now COVID is, and it's widening for black. And actually, in the Bloomberg News, it narrows it down to black men and working. So now we have young black men who aren't voting, young black men who aren't working, young black men who are afraid and fearful about cops, so we have a lot of work to do. So how do we speak on that working gap, saying keep pushing through, unify yourself, identify yourself, and then try to make something of yourself? That's a lot of work it's a lot of work for adult black men, trust me, but it's a lot of work for young black men.
Well, again, as a speaker, my platform is positive energy is a gift.
Okay.
And touched on it. You want to make people feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say, when you make people feel good, they feel appreciated. When people feel appreciated, there's a certain level of validation that comes. Oh, so you appreciate what I've done. I'll become more confident. I think it's important for us to make our young people feel confident. When you feel confident, it leads to the most important one I discussed. It gives you hope. And our young people lack hope. Yeah. And it's sad that when you don't have hope, you don't care about yourself. Why would I care about anybody else? That's why they kill each other. They go around saying and doing things that are like, where did that come from?
Right.
Because it's hope. Part of our job, our responsibility, is to make them feel good. Yes, great job. No, not good, but if you change it this way. Give them that validation, which is important, which is the confidence, and we have to instill hope. It's so important. We all need it. It gives us something to look forward to day in and day out. Just think about us. When we wake up each day, we have something that we look forward to. Something we look forward to doing, something we look forward to having. And then on the flip side, there's a group of people out here who don't care. They wake up and have nothing.
Nothing to care about.
Yes. And that's life in a nutshell. So if you don't care, we've lost them. So we have to do a better job of making one another feel good.
I agree. And that can be something as far as even just the terminology we use towards each other, especially, towards, the youth. A lot of times in schools or, I'm just going to say in a day, I like to be at the front door when students are coming in. That gives me a chance to kind of see who's had a bad day, who's had, something going on. And then I'm able to just kind of, greet them with, good morning, King, or good morning, Queen, and I mean, you'll be amazed at how that makes a child feel, and to kind of, straighten up their day or something, or to see them in the hallways and being able to, have these conversations, just, hey, how's grandma doing, and making them feel comfortable, with you to have these conversations. That goes a long way.
Two most important words in the English language are thank you.
Yeah.
We don't get cards. Obviously, we don't send information to one another. But when you tell someone thank you, that goes far. And like you said, greeting someone in the day. Good words start off with a great trend. Yeah. We talk so much negativity, but if we can put that good information out there early and make it consistent, it can change our lives.
And I think I think it does. I know it changes lives because when it comes down to emotional sciences and the vibration of life and how you are internalizing the sounds you are hearing, there's a connective tissue that responds to positive. We've seen the science. We know the science. Kids actually understand the science a lot better than we think they do. They understand positive vibes and about being felt good. Because when they feel good from you, they feel protected by you. And that's something they have to feel us more. As black men, they have to feel like we see them. Not only do we see them, we feel you. Because we are you. We're no different than you. Sometimes they call us, I was amazed when first time I got called an old head. I was like, man, I never thought I'd be on this side of the fence. But I understand that's a respect they're giving me of being in this space. So I want them to know that I feel you as you feel me, and you're not in this alone. I want to keep championing this thing. You are not alone. I understand it's hard for you to get a job. I look at the young men that's in my life, besides my sons, but the man that's with my daughter, and I feel his struggle. I feel where he's at. I know exactly where he's feeling, and he is struggling. And I think about when we do men's mentoring panel, I actually want him to listen to it more because I talk to him as much as I can. But he is struggling. He's struggling to find not just being a man, being a father, being a husband, but finding his own identity to a world that doesn't want him. That's tough.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Doc, it's also important for us to let this crew know that we struggle also.
Mm-hmm.
We all struggle. We all have some issues we have to overcome. But thankfully, we have groups like this where we can discuss and assist one another. It's not a problem to say, I need help.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wes, I know there's programs that the 100 Black Men are doing, and across the country, there are many organizations that I've interviewed that are doing, and yet we're still not getting to the black men there's more black men getting killed and put in prison than we're helping. I'm not asking for a solution. I'm asking for I don't know what I'm asking. I really don't.
All I can tell you is, in response to that, no matter what the positive influences that we are giving to them during that short span of time, just like Dee was about, they have to go back into their own neighborhood. And a lot of that stuff just goes right back up and because they're not really internalizing it.
Right.
They're hearing it, but they're not internalizing it. And so, of course, when back into your neighborhoods and stuff, you might, just like I said, it goes over their head and they're just back into the normal set, more or less.
Yeah.
That has to be something that is steadily reinforced on a daily basis.
What do you got, D?
Oh no, I agree. I totally agree.
Because go ahead.
I've said time again, I'm a huge fan of policing ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Love the analogy Dee gave us earlier with his daughter. And that's exactly what I mean. It has to start within your own home, being put out. Then we can take that to our neighborhoods, then our community, and I think it mushrooms out. But it has to start in our homes where we're giving good, solid information. And so maybe someone may say, well, listen, so what if you don't have a father figure in a particular home, which is the case in a lot of places?
And I was going to ask you about that, Chris, because, when you talk about policing yourself and it starts at home, now what?
Well, you have to take charge, and that's where those quote-unquote alpha males come into play.
Okay.
If you see a mother, you have to take that responsibility to assist her with that young man. Because we see time and time again where those are usually the young men who get out of control because that mother do some of the things that a man can do. She's done a very good job, admirable. But there are things that we do that a woman can't do. I'm going to give you a funny example, but it's a great one. mentoring some young fellas. We go on a trip. Young man comes out of the bathroom from taking a shower. He has the towel around his top area. He's 11 years old. We're all, again, the other guys start laughing. I said, hey, stop laughing. Why do you have the towel around the top of your chest?
That's what I see.
That's where's the towel?
Yep.
Because that's peace.
Yep.
But the small little things that you pick up, but you need a male to let him know, listen, you're a man, wear your towel around your waist. You don't have to put it around the top area. But subtle things that we have to convey to one another that can assist the process.
Right.
I've always said, it's my belief and it's personal belief, and I have no research behind it, but I've always said that if a child doesn't have 5 men around, 5 positive males around them, the child's in trouble. Whether a boy or girl, gender does not matter. The child doesn't have at least 5, and I would go as far as to say 10. I mean, they're in trouble because it's just, and I will say, side note to that is, I say positive role model, but sometimes it's someone who hasn't necessarily done all positive things in their life. It might be somebody who's in jail. It might be the crackhead on the corner. I hate to say it, but it's it's a variety of people who that child will see and can see the outcomes of those people, can get advice from those people. It's a very, very powerful thing. So, if there's not a male role model at home, we're going back to that responsibility thing where when I was young, I'd walk down the street. I've said this on previous casts. Like, when I was young, I would go down the street and somebody would want to sell me drugs, and the known drug dealer would be like, no, leave him alone.
There you go.
He's a basketball player. Okay, I go to school. I'll see somebody that looks like me there, and they would say, okay, they give me a little tidbit and I'd be fine. I was fortunate enough to have a father, so that's 3 right there. I played basketball, football, soccer, and track, so that's 4 more right there. You know, so the child needs that for their development, and that is smooth. That is a wonderful example because I wore my towel like that a long time. My dad was in the military, and he left a lot. Civil service, he left a lot. And I had 2 sisters and a mom that were there all the time. My dad was just working. And I wore my towel like that. I'm not ashamed to say that. I chuckled when you said that because I was like, yeah, that was me. My dad came home from a trip, and he's like, boy, what you doing? Like, wait. You know? So yeah, I'm a firm believer, 5 to 10 for each child, no matter of gender.
Yeah, I agree with you. What was I going to say? I forgot that morning. Oh, you were saying, even, the drug dealers and so forth in the neighborhood, who would say, nah, leave him alone. I was that kid. Nah, that's Miss Shropshire's son. Leave him alone.
Right.
Nah, he plays football for such and such. I think I said it, the last discussion I was on, Dr. Dyer, is, I hate to say it, man, I don't even know if we have a lot of those guys in the neighborhood anymore who are going to say, nah, leave him alone. Instead, what I'm hearing and what I kind of see is, yeah, go get him too. Yeah. Bring him on with us. Whereas I know it's there, but I just don't see it as much for me. Which is bothering me because it's almost like there are no rules to it now, and you can even see it on the news. People out here shooting women and kids.
Yeah.
What's going on? What do y'all really think? Whereas before, I don't want anybody to get shot, but as before, when we were younger, the rule, no women, no kids.
Like there was a code. There was a code. Now there's no code.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. And even with that code, we still looked out for our own, kids who were coming up who, we wanted to watch out for, protect, and so forth. you know, you always had those knuckleheads who just did not want to listen. So, you know, I think some of the old heads were just kind of like, they just gonna have to learn on their own, you know. Whereas, again, you know, a lot of times what I'm saying is just, man, it's babies guiding babies.
But it you know, I know, and when you said 5, Davey Woodsy, I was like, there's 5 here. And then we're missing 2 other brothers. That, you know, so that's 7. And then we're missing, you know, we got people that could not be on the panel today. That's 3. That's we got some brothers out here. We have men out here who want to do, and it seems like if we're not posted up at a corner, we're missing the ones we need to get to. You know, it's almost like I feel like I got to post up on a corner and like, hey, is he slinging? Yeah, he's slinging knowledge. You know what I mean?
Well, that's where you know, you look at it from New York, the 5 percenters. That's what they used to do.
Yeah.
You know? Get a whole bunch of cats off the street by, you know, spitting knowledge to them and hoping that you know, change their mindset. So that's kind of what I do. Like, I don't trip off of titles and all that other craziness in schools. You know, Mr. Shropshire, I've always been that. You know, Mr. Shropshire, what do you do? Change vibes. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's my whole deal. So, and that's what I try to do outside of what the teachers are doing in the classroom. I try to set up shop outside somewhere or post up so I can spit some kind of knowledge with them, whether teaching them how to reflect, teaching them, you know, here, this is what my bills look like every month. You know, I mean, I have my own little section in where I work, but just stuff that they need to know. What does masculinity look like to you?
Right.
You know, what is a man? You know, what is the purpose of a woman? What do they do? You see what I'm saying? Because I'm trying to get, you know, just little pops of information in their mind, like, okay, all right, this is what's going on. You know, so I had the kids try to study a little bit of my yacht. I may change the name of it or something, you know, and I just kind of put things in perspective for them and put together a little, like I said, reflection packets for them when they make it put out of class, just to kind of switch their mindset on certain things, you know.
Because that's exactly what we need. You know, we're about ready to wrap up here. I mean, this hour went by really fast, and I love my conversation with my brothers, man. I tell you, I look forward to this. You know, this is a different conversation I can have. You know, this is just, it feels different to me. And I just want to say thank you so much to my brothers in arms, man, about what we're able to do in this type of panel, this type of conversation, and to have this type of speak, because I know the feedback's amazing, but I hope it just keeps pushing out there in that vibrational noise, man. It's amazing. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Before we take off, Wes, you want to say anything before we leave?
Oh yeah, like I said, I agree. This was a great discussion, and also I'm going to put a plug in for a book that I'm working with on as far as a compilation with 15 other brothers. We titled it "When Men Lean In, We All Win." And it's a story that Black men are doing within their communities and to make things much better. And hopefully we'll look to go ahead and have it published in September.
I like that. When we lean in, we all win. I love it. That's so true, because that's what we're trying to do. We're leaning in. Woodsy?
No, I really, every month I look forward to this. It pushes me to learn more. It pushes me to do some further education for myself. I will tell you, just a quick side note, I started reading Sam from the beginning. I am 12 chapters into it, and it has transformed my thinking. I don't know how I'm going to teach next year, because a lot of the things that I learned, it's like, wow, that was a lie. So, you know, but you guys push me. You guys push me, and I really, really appreciate it.
And Smooth.
Doc, it's always a pleasure. Appreciate being on here with you, gentlemen. I would just encourage everyone to continue to learn, like Woodsy said. Knowledge, new currency. Get that ignorant box off, because there's a lot of information out there trying to what's up. Learn, continue to learn, get involved with things like this to be a great assistance.
And DCD.
Hey man, this is a blessing. This is what I kind of live for. It's crazy. I don't have a lot of these conversations, you know, and I'm always looking forward, you know, to have to talk to other brothers who are like-minded. I mean, I love this kind of stuff. And my thing is, even going further than this, you know, somehow we can exchange, you know, email addresses, and then that way we could probably send each other, you know, information that we may have uncovered. You know, just different things. Like, again, like I said, you know, I do these reflections with the students and so forth. And in those reflections, you know, I read books like, you know, Think and Grow Rich, No Excuses, and the anti, you know, racist book. And what I do is I like to flip, you know, what I read and make it into questions, you know, for the students. You see what I'm saying? And that's one of the things that you guys could, you know, possibly bring into your neighborhoods, and just, you know, get 5 or 6 of them, just hand it to them. And then that way, you know, they can have those discussions with their parents in the house at some point.
I love you, brother. We're gonna pray out of here, and then also, D, I'll include you in on this the little Facebook group that we have. I'll put your name on there, but I'll talk to you later after this anyway, because I know we were supposed to go cycling, but the kids came up because D and I were gonna go cycling today, hit the road. But so let's bow our heads. Go ahead, D.
Man, I took a class with Dr. Dyer, boxing class. Fellas, he's legit. I mean, I'm trying to tell y'all. I don't know where he gets all his gas from, but holy smokes. Man, I mean, I was in there sweating, my shirt. I got in my car seats were drenched when I got home, you know, so it's legit. I enjoyed it. I had a great time. I hadn't had one of those workouts since college.
Yes, sir.
That's why I told Russ before, I said I haven't had anyone dunk on me because I'm putting you out. I'm knocking you out. You are not dunking on me. I don't care. You better fly over me. If I can't grab you, no. I'm not having it. I'm not having it.
I love it.
All right, brothers, bow your heads. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for bringing us brothers together. Thank you for us strong black men bringing us together so we can share and spit our knowledge, so we can grab hold of our youth, grab hold of ourselves, knowing how we can raise our hand and believe that we are not alone. Dear Heavenly Father, as long as we keep you first, in Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
Amen.
See you guys later. Thank you.
It was great talking to you guys.